Do you know who this man here is? He's Hermann Ebbinghaus, a German psychologist from all the way back in the 1880s who found out that within an hour of you learning something new, so for example, if I study something right now, an hour later I'm going to forget 50% of it. 24 hours later I'm going to forget 70% of it. And he also found out that a week later I'm only going to be able to retain 25% of whatever I learned. Our biggest problem as students is that we can never really retain whatever we learn. So we learn something and we end up forgetting it pretty quickly. And this is due to something called the forgetting curve. So, what is the forgetting curve? The forgetting curve is a concept developed by the same psychologist that I mentioned above, Hermann Ebbinghaus. On your screen right now, you can see what the forgetting curve looks like, and I'm going to explain it for you. Basically, this is when you first learn the information. So this is when you first learn the topic. And these are days since you last visited the topic. So over here we have how much information you've actually retained, and over here we have the days since you last revisited the topic. Now you can see it has sort of an negative exponential relationship with the information retained and the day since you last revisited. And this is because this is when you first study the topic. One day later, you're going to be like, this is where you're going to be at. So you're going to lose all of this information right here. Then 2 days later, it's going to be over here. So you're going to lose all of this information. And as you see, as the time interval increases, you're going to forget basically all that you have learned. Basically, what the forgetting curve shows you is that the time from when you first learn a topic to the last day you revisit it, how much information can you actually retain and how much information do you actually, forget. And all you can see from here is that you end up forgetting everything. And that is because you don't revisit it in between. Now the question is, how do we actually combat the forgetting curve? And this is where spaced repetition comes in. So I've split this video into 3 different parts: what it is and how it works. The second is how we can apply it to our daily lives, like what application in real life can we use of spaced repetition. And finally, we're going to be looking at some evidences behind spaced repetition. So I'm not going to waste more of your time. Let's dive straight into the first part. Part 1. What is spaced repetition and how does it exactly work? Spaced repetition is basically when you review a topic at increasing time intervals, so it's going to directly combat the forgetting curve. As you can see on your screen right now, this is how spaced repetition combats the forgetting curve. So I'm going to explain it for you. Basically, as I said, this is when you first learn a topic. And if you didn't end up learning it again, this is what's going to happen to your retention, because this is, we have 100% over here, so 100% retention and then 50% retention. And these are days since you last revisited the topic. So let's say you learn here first. This is the first time you learn the topic and your retention is 100%. So as you can see, these 3 are the times I reviewed it. And every time I reviewed it, my retention went back to 100%. But instead of decreasing, it actually, at a point, it ends up becoming 90%. So as you can see, in the beginning, it was 80%. Then it went back to around 85%. Then it went back to around 85% as well. But the final time that I learned it ended up being 90%. So if you keep, you can see the distance is 1 day, then 3 days, then 6 days. So the time interval is also sort of increasing. So to summarize, it's basically just studying the same topic at increasing time intervals. So for example, I'll study it today. I'm going to study it tomorrow. I'm going to study it 2 days later. I'm going to study it 4 days later. I'm going to study it a week later. And I'm going to study it 2 weeks later. And as you go on, the time interval increases. So it can be a month, 2 months, 3 months. And just like that, by the end of let's say a month or 2 months, you're going to retain 100% of the information. So that's how spaced repetition actually combats the forgetting curve. Whereas if you learned it once and then you never revisit it again, if you come back to it a month later, you're not going to remember a single thing that you learned back then. So it's going to be basically like you studying the whole topic all over again, and you do not want that because it is a big waste of time. And if you follow this and you review the information 1 day before the exam, I promise you're going to retain 100% of the information during the exam. Part 2. How do we apply it in our lives? So I'm going to show you the best way to apply spaced repetition in your life as a student. First of all, go ahead and download Anki. You can find it anywhere. It is completely free. You do not have to worry about spending a dime. I've been using Anki for a while now, and it's by while I just mean the start of year 13. And I've known about Anki for the longest of time, maybe 4 or 5 years, but I never quite got around to using it. And I just started in year 13, and honestly, it's been amazing. So I do recommend you use it. Anki, you can use Quizlet as well, but I prefer Anki, and I'm going to show you on Anki as well. So let's go and check out how to use Anki. Okay, so as you can see on my screen right now, I have a random deck opened. I just made it. This is a test deck. And I'm going to show you how it's done. So you want to go ahead and click add. So this is how you're gonna be adding your flashcards. So this is gonna be the front. This is so where you're gonna put the question, and this is where you're gonna put, the answer. So let's say I'm gonna write name a test. I'm gonna do one for chemistry. Name a test for the positive identification of an aldehyde. Now, I know that a positive identification for an aldehyde, you can use Tollens reagent, and that will give us a silver mirror. So I can just write as the answer Tollens reagent and gives silver mirror. And then I can just click on add, and then that's done. And then you can add the next question, and by the end, if I go to the test deck, sorry, one sec, and if I just exit over here, you can see there's one new, and I can just click study now, and this is how it's gonna ask me. Name a positive identification for an aldehyde. So what can it be? I'm gonna think. If I cannot remember, I'm gonna click. There's different options that you can click over here, by the way. So yeah, so I'm gonna click show answer, and I'm gonna get the answer right. If I do get the question right, I'm gonna click on easy. So when I click on easy, it's gonna show me the same question 5 days later. If I click good, as in let's say I just got Tollens reagent and I couldn't get the silver mirror part, I'm gonna click on good. So it's gonna give me the same question 10 minutes later. If let's say I was completely unable to answer, or let's say I got very broken, I was I was off by a mile, I'm gonna click on hard. So it's gonna give it to me 6 minutes later. And if I just know that, oh god, I did horribly, I have no idea what this is, I'm gonna click on again. And if I click on again, it's gonna give me it in less than 1 minute. So the way it basically works is that this is how spaced repetition works. So if you get an easy question and you know the answer straight off the bat, you're gonna click on easy, and it's gonna give you in 5 days later. If you get a partial answer, then you're gonna click good, 10 minutes. If you don't get it, then you're gonna click hard. And if you're like, oh, this is very weak, I need to work on it, so you're gonna click on again. So this is how it works. This is how it uses spaced repetition to make sure that everything that you learn is ingrained in your mind forever. And basically, yeah, this is what it is. So let's go back to normal view now. Okay, so I hope that made it slightly clear on how to use Anki and how Anki uses spaced repetition to basically allow you to learn whatever content you type in. And honestly, just try it out for maybe a week or 2 weeks, because trust me, if it is going to help you a lot. And if it doesn't help you, then you can resort to whatever technique you use. But spaced repetition is scientifically proven to work, and that is going to be the next part of this video, which is scientific evidences behind spaced repetition. So I'm going to give you 2 evidences for this. The first one I already brought up all the way back in part 2 of this video, which was the forgetting curve by Hermann Ebbinghaus. And I proved to you that, distributed practice or spaced repetition, if you're forgetting something and you remember it again, if you study it again, you're going to remember 100% of it. And if you keep doing that over increasing time intervals, you're going to retain much more information. There's also many different researches on this. I'm going to leave them in the links in the description below, so you can go ahead and check them out as well. The second evidence is from a research paper called Improving Students' Learning with Effective Learning Techniques, Promising Directions from Cognitive and Educational Psychology. And it is written by Professor John Donlosky, who is a psychologist and a teacher at the Kent State University of Ohio. In the research paper, he gives evidences and explores all the different study techniques and labeling them as high utility or low utility with evidence, of course. And this is what he had to say about spaced repetition. On the basis of available evidence, we rate distributed practice as having high utility. It works across students of different ages with a wide variety of materials. On the majority of the standard laboratory measures and over long delays, it is easy to implement, although it may require some training. And as you see, using Anki is not exactly easy, but once you learn it, it is very easy, and has been used successfully in a number of classroom studies. In his research, he actually goes into much more detail with different evidences from all the way back in the 1700s, 1800s, and whatnot. But if I started bringing all of them up right now, this video would probably end up being an hour long. So I'm not going to bring them up, but if you would like to check the research paper out, I have linked it in the description below. But aside from the point, spaced repetition has had many researches done on it, and there's a lot of scientific evidence behind it. And honestly, just try it out. It works wonders once you understand how to use it properly. And I've been using it for the last few weeks, I would say, and it has honestly been life-changing. So I would recommend you do the same. If there's no harm in trying. If you do not like it, you can, obviously not use it anymore. But this is potentially something that can transform the way you study, especially if you take subjects like chemistry, physics, which require a lot of memorization, definitions, and all of that stuff. It can really help then. Anyways, that is all for today's video. I really, really hope this video helped you and at least you learned something from it. If you did enjoy it, please do leave a like. You can subscribe to the channel over here, and please do go ahead and check this video out on why students find A-levels so hard. It's doing really well, it's on, I think, 12,000 views now, which is honestly amazing. So please go ahead and check this out. I will see you with another video very, very soon. Take care and goodbye.